Hello and welcome to another minisode of So Are the Days of Our Lives. I'm your host, Olivia Willis, and today we are talking all about an agency that has been prominently featured in several episodes I've recapped recently. It also comes up in a couple of future episodes that we're going to be talking about on the podcast. And so I figured it was time to devote a deep dive, or really a shallow dive, to the I.S.A., the agency, its background, and some of its most noteworthy cases and agents. So let's dive in. The International Security Alliance, or as I prefer to call it, the International Spy Agency, because when you think about it, that is what it is. It seems to be like a super agency, sort of like the combined forces of Interpol, the CIA, and military black ops. Their scope is extremely wide-ranging. They handle missing persons. They handle art and jewelry thefts. They disarm nuclear bombs. They handle like terrorist organizations and also like corporate crime. It's basically they've got a lot of plates spinning. They've got their hands in a lot of pots. What's the phrase I'm looking for? They're stirring a lot of pots. They've got their hands in a lot of jars. Maybe that's what I was meaning to say. All I'm trying to say is if someone has crossed a state or national boundary, the I.S.A. is seemingly ready to get involved and has boots on the ground. The I.S.A. has had a presence in Salem since the 1980s, when a young undercover agent by the name of Shane Donovan came to Salem to pose as a butler and spy on Stefano DiMera. Apparently, there has just always been such a profound series of criminal operations in Salem that an international justice coalition has had a direct foothold in the sleepy suburb for over 40 years. I love just imagining the situation for Shane Donovan. You're a hotshot international super spy, and you get sent to this suburb of Chicago to pose as a butler in this rich guy's house and try to find these mystical, magical prisms that Stefano DiMera is hiding to try to, I think, cure a brain tumor. And so you're looking for these prisms, you're spending some more time in Salem, you start to get to know the maniacs that live in this town and hear what's going on. You start reporting back to your handler, we need to invest in an infrastructure in this town. In the words of Ryan Coogler, we need to get involved with this. So that was basically Salem's meet cute with the I.S.A. I mean, Shane Donovan came as an undercover agent and said, you guys, I'm putting down roots here. I think I'm going to be employed if I try to fight crime in this town. Now, Shane Donovan may be the current I.S.A. director, but apparently the I.S.A. has had a long history of corrupt directors, including somewhat recently a woman named Pamela Van Dam, who became embroiled in scandal because Steve asked her to help cover up that his son Joey killed Ava Vitale, a murder that obviously did not stick. She did end up still being alive, but we didn't know that at the time. But then Joey ended up confessing to the murder, so then Pamela started freaking out that her involvement in the cover-up would come out. So naturally, her solution was that she demanded that John Black kill the entire Johnson family. Talk about an overcorrection of just oh God, I crossed a line, I did something wrong and tried to cover up a murder. How am I gonna do damage control about that and make sure that doesn't come out? Wipe out an entire family. Murder generations. I feel like there was maybe another way around that. She really started to spiral, and eventually she ended up kidnapping Steve's son Tripp and Sierra Brady. Then when Pamela was caught, she tried to inject Tripp with poison, and after a struggle, the needle got turned on Pamela, and she died in the town square, which, such a badass way to go. You just, get injected with poison and you die in the town square. I mean, it's iconic. It's extremely dramatic. Some former I.S.A. agents connected to Salem include Orpheus, big bad villain Orpheus himself, and Roman Brady, who were former partners in the I.S.A. Fun fact, Roman accidentally killed Orpheus's wife while they were out on an I.S.A. mission, and that became Orpheus's grand villain origin story. Bo and Hope Brady, of course, famously worked for the I.S.A. John Black obviously was on a mission with the I.S.A. right before his death. And, Steve Johnson is still gigging here and there for the I.S.A. It seems like this is actually going to come up in a future episode I recap on the podcast. The thing that's spooky about the I.S.A. is that it is like a once you're in, you're never out situation. Like, they can kind of always just call you up and be like, we need you on a case. And it's like, I'm out of the game. Roman's like, I run a freaking chowder shop now. Like, you can't expect me to just hop back into my spy boots. But no, Steve is still running hither and thither with the I.S.A. An interesting story I did find in my research was this story from one of Steve's I.S.A. missions in like the late 80s, I think it was, where there was basically this white nationalist religious group that was burning down black churches, and Steve went in with the I.S.A. and like infiltrated the group and took them down and ended up like killing the pastor who was the head of this crazy religious organization. So go off, Steve. Current agents include obviously director Shane Donovan, Andrew Donovan, Shane's son, and Paul's husband, so we keep it in the family, Paul, son of John Black. And Real Housewife of Salem herself, Lisa Rinna's character, Billy Reed, who famously came back from a long hiatus on the show and was just like, I'm with the I.S.A. I'm a spy now. I'm in Beyond Salem, and I am searching for the gems that are missing from the Alamanian Peacock. Ugh, I need Beyond Salem to come back to Peacock. Please. NBC Universal, are you listening to me? While I'm talking to the powers that be at NBC Universal, let's just go ahead and give Lisa Rinna whatever she would want to come back on a regular basis on Days of Our Lives. Let her wear her sunglasses. Let her wear her cool pants. Let Harry Hamlin be on the show too. Come on. We have had some Real Housewives Days of Our Lives crossover. We need to invest in it. We need to build that bridge. I have to be honest. Is my focus on the I.S.A. tied to my deep affection for Charles Shaughnessy, the actor who plays Shane Donovan? Yes, of course, obviously. I was deeply obsessed with The Nanny when I was growing up, and Mr. Sheffield, who was the character Charles Shaughnessy played on The Nanny, was absolutely my childhood crush. So yes, my heart soars every time Shane Donovan has to pop up or call one of his former agents in Salem to bring them back into the agency's shenanigans. Charles Shaughnessy being a long-running character on Days of Our Lives, I think truly cemented the fact that Days of Our Lives belonged in my life. So I'm never going to be mad when there's I.S.A. action on the show. A hilarious thing that I saw on the Days of Our Lives fandom wiki page, which is a source for a lot of my minisodes, but especially for this minisode, because surprise, surprise, there aren't a ton of reputable journalistic organizations that are talking about the fictional spy alliance on Days of Our Lives. So I was really relying on the fandom wiki. But somebody pointed out that I guess in recent seasons, like it's always been the International Security Alliance, the International Security Alliance. And on recent seasons, like some props and like signage and stuff has said International Security Agency, not Alliance. And the person was like, I don't know if it was an oversight or maybe they rebranded. And I just love the idea of people in the writer's room being like, ugh, Alliance, it's so lame. We need to be the agency. So who knows? Maybe sound off in the comments if anyone has confirmation about whether it's an official rebrand from International Security Alliance to International Security Agency. And if that has happened, is there room for a further rebrand to just go ahead and become the International Spy Agency? Because that would make me sleep better at night. Okay, I'm rambling. That's a sign that it's time for me to get off the mic. You can follow me at Days of Our Live on TikTok, or you can follow the podcast at So Are the Days Podcast on Instagram. I will be posting sort of like a video version of this minisode, so comment there if you have like a favorite I.S.A. agent or I.S.A. mission that I obviously didn't touch because this was an extremely the shallowest of deep dives into such a widespread organization. Yeah, let me know if there's any favorites I missed. Maybe I'll do an I.S.A. part 2, and we'll be back next week with a really fun full episode recap. Bye-bye.